Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be covering the patch 30.5 though, so if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. To move, Yuumi is going to be reworked, so abilities are going to be changing slightly. Her passive is no longer going to give her a shield, but a heal, which she can travel to take towards her allies. Her passive is going to gain 50 attack range again, and the cooldown is going to be 20 to 10. Overall, this just means that she won't be able to trade as heavily with people, and the heal will go to her allies instead of a shield, which she can contain and also give to allies. Her Q is now going to be changed, so it can no longer be controlled for the entire duration, but it will be controllable for the beginning part. Towards the end part, it will just go off in a single direction. Her best friend bonus will be that this ability slows, will always be empowered, and hitting an enemy champion will also grant 10 to 20 plus 10% AP on hit damage to her ally for 5 seconds. This damage is increased based on the ally's critical strike chance. The cooldown is going to go from 7.5 to 6.25. The mana cost is going to go from 50 to 75. And the damage is going to be 60 to 210 with 20% AP ratio. And empowered, it's going to be 80 to 380 with a plus 35% AP ratio. The slow is going to be 20% for 1 second. And then there's going to be an empowered slow, which is 55 to 80%. And then decaying over 2 seconds to 20%. The missile width is going down. And Yuumi's Cube will now reveal people. Yuumi's W has been changed. It's no longer going to give adaptive force bonus, and it's no longer going to be able to continuously proc Aerie, which was an abusable thing which she used to be able to do, where you could hop on and off people and then provide Aerie as that, just by doing that. The best friend bonus will now give 10 to 20% heal and shield power, and her best friend will gain on hit healing, which is really important and quite nice for high attack speed ADCs. Her E is now going to be shielding instead of healing. 12 to 10 second cooldown, mana cost of 80 to 120, and the shield strength is going to be 90 to 10 with a 30% AP ratio. There's going to be a movement speed bonus and an attack speed bonus with an 8% per 100 AP. It's also going to restore some mana, 20 to 36 mana to our anchor, not herself, increase up to 100% based on their missing mana, 30 to 80% missing mana. A helping paw is not going to have a passive with the friendship bonus, and her R is going to be different, so it's not going to be 7 waves, it's going to be 5 instead. It's going to have a longer cooldown, it's going to do a bit more damage, it's going to now heal people when you hit like an ally with those waves, because now you can control them. And there is going to be a slow duration of 1.25 seconds, which can stack up to 50% if you hit them with all the waves. The best friend bonus is going to be that it gives armor and magic resist during the duration of the spell. Aatrox's W is going to be 20 to 14 down to 20 to 12. So it's going to scale from 25 to 25 to 35. And then Mordant is getting 2.5 at 11 and 5% at 16. So overall, these are just late game scaling buffs towards Aatrox, just to help him in solo queue, because right now he's kind of bad. But this shouldn't do anything towards his pro. He's got a kind of out of pro play for a while. The itemization towards Aatrox is pretty bad. This may be placebo towards some people picking him up again, but for the most part, Aatrox isn't going to suddenly get picked because of these. Ashe is now having 20 mana cost reduced off Q. The empowered duration is going to go from 4 to 6, and the W damage is going to go down by 10 at all ranks, and the R cooldown is going to go from 80-60 to 100-60. So overall, just nerfs towards Ashe support and trying to keep Ashe ADC relatively equal in power. Trying to just neutralize the overall nerfs, which are pretty big towards Ashe support. Asol is going to lose 5 health growth. He's going to also lose 0.3 armor growth. And his Q is going to lose a 5% AP ratio. Asol is currently really strong at scaling. He is pretty powerful in solo queue. Not seeing much competitive play, but that's fine. Overall, just a really strong champion, does a lot of damage, kind of solo queue, kind of just targeting towards solo queue nerfs, and his overall scaling is having a complete kit readjustment. Bunch of overall the TLDR is a bunch of his base stats are being lowered, just trying to make him weaker in the early game and less Q abusive, whilst making his passive feel meaningful, doing a lot more damage, being a lot more survivable, having a lot more uptime. His W is going to be changed so it does more damage and loses a lot of his attack speed, and it's going to lose the 3 soldiers attack speed, and the E is losing the 15% AP ratio. That's kind of a general TLDR, just trying to make him so stronger in solo queue and weaker within pro play. Caitlyn is losing 1 base armor and 2 base AD. This is just a placebo enough to get her out pro because she's kind of pickle ban, but for the most part just banned. So you don't see a lot of Caitlyn. This should make it so people stop playing her or just play her a lot less and ban her a lot less. Fizz is gaining a mana restore to 100% of the mana cost on W, and the E is going to drop in mana cost by a significant amount. The damage is also going to go up. Actually, this was not listed within the patch notes. So overall, Fizz is getting some huge buffs. This will help his wave clear. His overall mana restoration will go up massively as well. Overall, Fizz is just going to be a lot more powerful and do a lot more damage because he'll have more mana to overall just output more. Gangplank is losing true damage on the passive. His kegs will now appear underneath his health bar, and his keg recharge rate is going to go down from 18 to 14 to just 18 seconds at all rank because he has access to more CDR with Essence Reaver, Ionian, and Navori. So overall, just nothing Gangplank within Solo Queue. This will also hit his pro, but Gangplank doesn't see a lot of play in pro. He does see some, just not a huge amount. Jinx is gaining a lot of stats. Her attack speed growth is going up. Her W is now losing 10 mana cost at all ranks. The slow is going up by 10% at all ranks as well. And the R is gaining damage cap against monsters of 1200, so it will be equal to Smite. These are pretty huge buffs towards Jinx, who is already really strong at the moment. So definitely make sure you're playing Jinx next patch. If you play a lot of ADC, she's relatively easy and works quite well with a lot of the meta supports. Kennen is getting some insane buffs. Kennen is going to be so powerful next patch as a mid laner. So Q is going to lose 1 second of cooldown at base rank. He's also going to gain more damage on the Q by 20 at max rank and then a plus 10% AP ratio. The W will now have a range indicator, so you can see where you can W marked champions, and E is going to gain damage to minions modifier. Overall, these are huge buffs towards Kennen. This is his main spamming tool, and the E damage to minions is just quite nice as it allows you to E through the wave and then W and just clear the wave. Huge buffs towards Kennen. I expect to see him as like one of the top tier mid laners next patch. LeBlanc is going to be having some changes towards her Q. Killing a unit with either part of Sigil of Malice will restore 100% of the mana cost and 30% of the spell's remaining cooldown, similar to like an Annie Q. The R will now also mimic the same thing. And the Q actually does more damage to minions as well. So overall, LeBlanc getting huge wave clear buffs. Overall, making it a lot easier to just clear waves and play as LeBlanc, which this was one of her main problems, not being able to clear waves that effectively. Pantheon also receiving some huge changes. His base rate health regen is going down by 1.5. The attack speed is going up though. The cooldown on Combat Spear is going down by 2 seconds at level base. The mana cost is going down by 5, and the Q tap windup is also going down by 0.05, which is overall just huge buffs towards Pantheon Q. And the E is going to be gaining 2 seconds of cooldown at max rank, and this will probably become his last max ability. You'll probably go Q into W, and overall, these changes are just huge buffs towards Pantheon. I expect Pantheon will be one of the top tier mid laners as well, and also pretty good in the top lane and the jungle and the support role. Like, these are just big for all of his roles. I'm kind of curious on why they're doing this, but I guess they just want to bring him back to relevance. He's still pretty good at the moment, so I'm very surprised by that. Kiana is losing 1 second on E at all ranks, which is quite nice of a buff, and her Q is gaining 20 damage at max rank, which is a huge buff because this is her main ability, and gaining 20 damage on it is quite nice. Rammus is losing some attack damage growth, and his Q is going to be doing 20 less damage at max rank. Overall, this will keep him powerful. He's going to be relatively good as an anti-AD champ. He got hotfixed fairly recent. He got nerfed really heavily and then got hotfixed to bring him back up to a successful point, but he's stronger again now, and they're just tapping him down, so he's not as much of a solo queue problem. Rumble is now gaining scaling shred on his E. These are pretty huge buffs towards top lane Rumble, as this allows him to go break through more tankier targets. Overall, slice change 10 to 12 to 20 scaling, and then 20 to 24 to 40% scaling. So overall, quite nice buffs. Samira is going to be having a slight pullback on her last stuffs. Instead of 1 to 4, it's going to be 2 to 3.5. I imagine this doesn't fix the current problem with Samira, though, where Treasure Hunter's nerfs were actually pretty big for her, and this will probably end up putting her around a 50% win rate, but Samira kind of needs to sit above that to feel relevant as a character. She doesn't see any pros, so I'm kind of surprised they're not going a bit more generous on this. Just overall kind of surprising. Tryndamere is gaining 3 health growth and 0.3 attack damage growth. These are quite nice, just generic buffs towards Tryndamere. These will help him maybe appear in pro as a mid laner. We'll see, but overall just help him in the top lane as well. Twitch is losing 5% on the AP ratio with all 6 stacks. That is a 30% drop in AP ratio. These are huge nerfs towards Twitch AP. This will hurt his mid and his support, because Twitch mid at the moment is incredibly powerful. So just a really big nerf. Xayah is losing 5 damage at all ranks on her E, and the cooldown is going from 10 to 8, 11 to 9. Just some fairly mediocre nerfs, just because Navori allowed her more access to CDR, and just overall the passive on that, giving her more CDR, just dish out more spells. They just wanted to lower the damage because she's in a really powerful spot at the moment, and a really good ADC, so just a little less damage on this. Yorick is going to be losing ghoul bonus damage on his E, because the lethality rules are like gaining a lot of popularity, and they don't want them taking over as much as they are. So for Ravenous, Prowler's build is kind of being nerfed. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up like buffing Yorick at some point to make his tank build feel more viable. Zed is losing 3 magic resist, but having the cooldown on his E reverted. It's from 5 to 4 to 5 to 3. These were nerfs towards his late game at some other point, but it's made his late game combo feel a bit more awkward, so they're buffing it back up and dropping his magic resist so he's not too strong, but feels a lot better to play. Overall, Zed is still pretty good at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't do much, except for maybe bring up his win rate a bit. Jungle adjustments, counter jungling is being just removed. Well, the counter jungling nerf is being removed because junglers dealing all damage to their own camps and scuttle is now just all camps. So overall, this will help junglers counter jungle, and all jungle camps are just going to get more gold, making farming more effective rather than just power ganking, which is what a lot of junglers are doing at the moment. And then jungle lane experience is now being dropped a lot because junglers were able to tax laners of their experience and just power through the early levels quite comfortably. Like you'd see level 5 Jarvans if they took waves, compared to like level 3 junglers if they hadn't quite got on the map yet, or they'd lost a camp or two. So overall, this is just a lower this overall total experience curve. But at level 14, of course, it's going to break even. Sweeping was powerful, and just overall clearing vision was quite strong at the moment, so they changed it from 90-60 to 120-60. Overall, just nerfing the early game sweeping, so it's easier to spot ganks, and this just encourages more farming, once again, similar to those changes, and just counter-invading, counter-jungling, which is just quite nice. I like these changes. Obviously, jungle is still going to be really strong, and I hope they do nerf it down again, but I don't know. It's a good change for the health of jungle, but it does still keep it relatively powerful, which is kind of unfortunate. Cosmic Drive is being changed to 90 AP instead of 200 health on the item. This will just help. This will help a lot of champs which want to build this item as an offensive CDR option when you hit a lot of spells. It just amps your movement speed and your AP, which isn't bad as an item, but it's not going to fix a lot of its problems as like a contender for other items. 130 is pretty generous for an item, but losing the health is going to hurt some of the champs which wanted to build it. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think it's fine. Plated Steel Caps is now looks for all auto attacks for its damage reduction rather than auto attacks tagged with just auto attacks and nothing else. So this is a buff towards Plated Steel Caps. Things like Graves, I imagine, will get affected by this, and so maybe like bonk some of the stuff. So maybe like Jax didn't get affected. I don't know. Be interesting to see what this nerfs, but overall, this is quite nice as a just buff to just Plated Steel Caps. They were quite weak at the moment. Mark Treads were almost always better as an option. Same with Lucidities, same with Swifties. Seraphs is losing 10 AP, and the health is going down by 50. Arcane is losing 10 AP as well. Grasping and Dying is now going to be gaining more maximum health gained, but then losing a bit of the heal. So 0.5, but then 3 flat, 0.3, and then 1.8 flat. So yeah, losing a bit of a heal, but then it's going to be gaining more maximum health, which is quite nice. Triumph is now going to heal 2.5% of maximum health plus 5% missing health instead of 10% missing health. This is going to leave the rune fairly even, but then it's going to be a net nerf. Triumph change is meant to be a net nerf that flattens the extremes of runes. So yeah, it's going to be enough for like really low health healing moments, but then it's not going to be as much of a nerf. 35% health mark. So yeah, it's not going to be as much of enough later on, and when you have more health. That's what I'm looking for. Tower Rubble has been removed for ARAM. This is just a QOL. And then a bunch of changes. I'm not going to cover these because I don't cover ARAM changes. But Clash coming up this weekend. I've done a lot of videos on this, so make sure you're playing that. Should be fun. Champion pricing update. Yeah, a bunch of changes here. Virgin tier. 4,444 blue essence. Behavioral systems, AFK timeout will now be a 1-minute queue delay penalty for all players that AFK or leave. And no more immunity fixed bugs where frequent leavers will not get penalties. 32-bit client depreciation. So it's now changing from 32 to 64. Okay. Not much there. And then competitive, first judge is now going to be 5 LP instead of 3. Subsequent dodges is now going to be -15 instead of -10. Interesting. Champion select QO changes, special bug fixes, skin fixes as well. Now available Prestige, Broken Cover, Misfortune, and then all the new skins, which look sick. Definitely recommend getting these. They look really nice. The splash shots are really good. Love the Cho'Gath splash shot. It looks really, really nice. Definitely consider getting that one. Skin in game looks a bit worse than the splash shot, but ignore it. So overall, a patch with a lot of changes. But yeah, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and thank you guys for watching.